In this video, we will be reviewing the Diamond Ultimate MT5 Expert Advisor by this seller right here. Stick around to the end to see if this is a real trading system worth your time or just another MQL5 scam. We can start off here on the sales page to get an idea of how this EA works. So, we can start here with the description, where it's telling us that this system does not use risky strategies like martingale or grid. It trades on the Dow Jones, and it uses both a stop loss with every single trade, and it does not use any marketing gimmicks such as overemphasizing the use of fake AI or ChatGPT APIs, etc. And he's giving some good feedback here, saying that it's critical to use a low spread broker. This might indicate the presence of a scalping system. And if we scroll down a bit further, we're getting some very positive signs here, saying that this is indeed an EA that is designed for the long term. No trading system can win 100% of the time, so do expect there to be some losses, all of which is a good sign, as it shows that the seller is being honest with you. In trading, unfortunately, we cannot always win all the time, and systems that try to present that to you are likely trying to obscure something else. So this is a good sign of honesty. We can quickly flip through backtest results. Obviously, it's all looking very positive. Okay, so we can now go and scroll up to both the signal page and to the backtest page. And if we go here quickly through the signal, we have 3 months of data, which is a bit on the short side, but it appears to be a reasonable equity curve. It's making very good returns, 42.6% year to date. There is a slight drawdown, but that's perfectly normal. And if we look at the actual trades, we're seeing that it seems to be at least somewhat consistent day to day with trade size. They may have increased the risk shortly. But what's quite interesting is that it places several trades at the exact same time. So this is a fairly interesting strategy. Perhaps they're doing this to minimize slippage, but it's quite a unique and pretty interesting approach. So we can go to the end here. And yes, they've been using this strategy for a bit. So at the exact same time, several different trades open. So excited to dive a bit more in detail into the backtest and see what this looks like when you're actually running the EA. And now just to go to the final link that the seller shared, he published a guide to backtest the EA. And effectively what he's saying here is that you should be a bit apprehensive of using every tick based on real ticks when running a backtest. And I've skimmed this briefly, and effectively what he's saying is that the 1 minute open high-low close is more indicative of the live signal. I would interpret this with a bit of a grain of salt. Like, I personally have coded several scalping systems, and the majority of our bots are scalping systems, and open high-low close backtesting will always look vastly superior for these types of systems, simply because they don't have as punitive spreads as using every tick based on real ticks. However, and the point what this seller is making is, depending on the data provided by one's broker, and depending on the broker in particular, every tick based on real ticks can also be a little bit too punitive in regards to what actually happens live. Therefore, quite often I like to run both every tick and every tick based on real ticks and compare both. So if you do every tick based on real ticks, perhaps it'll be a little bit better than that. But it is valid what he's sharing. However, you have to look at his motives and incentives too. So always good to just weigh both sides of the coin and see what you think is best for you. Now let me open the terminal here so we can actually run a more in-depth backtest. As you can see, I took the liberty of opening the markets page here. I downloaded a demo version of the Diamond Ultimate MT5. And yep, it's the exact same as what we saw on the previous sales page. I have it loaded here in my tester. So let's just quickly check out the inputs tab to get a bit more detail on the strategy. From what I can see, they're indicating that it is using a trailing stop loss. So this is likely a scalping system. And the majority of these settings are related to risk management. There is an area for prop firms and quite a few news and time filters. So not a ton of indication regarding the strategy per se, but it does appear to be quite robust in terms of filtering. So let me now run a quick back test and we can come back once that's done running. Okay, so we are now back. So for this back test, I ran approximately 1 year on the M15 time frame, which was matching what the seller told us to do. I also, contrary to his advice, I used every tick based on real ticks just to beat it up. So perhaps there is a better upside scenario if you were to use open, high, low, close. But my reasoning here is that if it still looks good with every tick based on real ticks, we can all be pleasantly surprised if it looks even better with open, high, low, close. But it's good to always look at the worst case scenario when evaluating an EA. Going to the graph, it looks like a very good graph, but I quite like that this is not a perfectly smooth equity curve. This is a beautiful scalping equity curve. They all look like this. All of my systems have similar looking equity curves, where effectively when you have a significantly larger loss than take profit, you have these nice strings of wins and then followed by a loss, right? So this, and we'll look at the backtest in a second, would indicate exactly that. We're also seeing that in the past few weeks, it's been a little bit rough for it. Makes a lot of sense. The past couple of weeks, markets have been insanely choppy with all of the volatility in the markets combined with the kind of the changes in interest rates. So a system which is based on likely scalping, breakouts, or continuations would typically not perform as well in that market regime. So makes a lot of sense. Let's go to the actual backtest results. And the first thing I'm going to look at is profit trade, average profit trade versus average loss trade. So 8.19 to 26.05. So roughly it has a 1 to 3 risk reward, or 3 to 1 risk reward. It's an inverse risk reward. And that shows that when you're right, you make roughly $8, and when you're wrong, you lose roughly 26. This is perfectly characteristic of scalping systems. Usually, if you use this type of inverse risk reward, you tend to have a better equity curve and better results with a scalper. It's just how the distributions work. So this is actually a good sign here. High risk reward in algo trading is not always a good thing. So totally see that. Here we're using 99% history quality from 8cap, so still very, very good quality. And yes, excellent ratios. $10,000 deposit over the course of a year generated $2,500 in profit. So we're seeing a 25% return, and we're seeing a win rate of around 83.65%. So with a 3 to 1 risk reward, that's actually extremely good. So at least for the past year, this is a very solid system. Let me now run a visual backtest to see what in particular it's actually doing. And just out of personal curiosity, it's when you find a good system which looks honest, it's always neat to backtest it, as it gives you ideas for your own bot development. So let me quickly press play and hope it doesn't take too long to load. And here we go. Okay, we can see that It's now up and running. And yes, interesting. Okay, so I know this strategy very well. What it's doing is that it's placing pending orders at key levels. So it appears to be at minima and maxima levels. So as you can see, there's a local minima here, and it would have placed the pending order there, or there was a local minima here, and it placed the pending order. This is a very, very common trading system, and it tends to be very effective, right? Depending on the developer, some people like to place it directly at the minima or maxima, whereas others tend to like to use zones around the minima and maximas. But it is a very, very effective trading system. Our golden sniper bot runs on a very similar premise and is an exceptionally profitable system. There's also quite a few systems in the MQL5 marketplace which run on a similar premise. This is really a tried and tested strategy. Like, just by placing pending orders at key levels, it tends to be quite robust to overfitting, because you just don't have as much over optimization that you can do relative to an indicator strategy. So maybe I'll pause it there, as I believe we now have a pretty good inclination as to how this works. But generally speaking, this appears to be a very solid system. Maybe to wrap up our video, this is an honest expert advisor that follows a logical strategy which has been tried and tested. I have coded bots on it in the past, and yes, it appears to be a very good system. So I would encourage you guys to go and check it out yourself, perhaps run some back tests and see if it works for you. And yes, leave me a comment if you use it and you get some good results. And stick around for the next short clip where we'll share a free expert advisor with you. Take care. Before you click away, if you're looking to get a real expert advisor, here at Prosperity Algo Solutions, we're currently offering our Golden Time Bomb system based on automating the London breakout and opening range breakout 100% for free. Watch the pinned video to find out more and to get access.